the top 10 scariest places in the world. Number 10. The abandoned coal washing plant. The abandoned coal washing plant is known Triage Lavoir in French. It is simply out of this world. Triage Lavoir de Perrons is a former coal washing facility that was built with the help of the Marshall Plan in 1954. It was built for the demand of the coal industry to process the coal coming from the mines of Perrons and Triviers. It was capable of processing over 3,000 tons of coal daily. In 1969, the nearby coal mines were closed, which caused Triage Lavoir to become useless, and it was closed down after only 15 years of active operation. Immediately after closing the facility, all the machines and equipment were removed, and the facility stayed abandoned for over 3 decades. It had experienced a fire years ago, leaving behind a metallic skeletal remain that defies logic. It is incredibly dirty. Any person who enters has to throw their clothes away. It's a death trap by any stretch of the imagination. The coal washing plant is an incredibly scary place to be lost in. Number 9. The abandoned Gulliver's Travel Park. Gulliver's Kingdom was an abandoned theme park, which got its inspiration from Gulliver's Travels, a novel by Jonathan Swift. It even had a giant-sized Gulliver statue lying down in Lilliput, located in Kamakushiki, Yamanashi Prefecture. It had a nice view of Mount Fuji. This theme park was an impulse decision made by the Japanese government, supposedly intended to boost the economy in the 90s. Having received around $350 million in financial loans, which went to waste due to unsuccessful venture. It was also bombarded with employment controversies during its construction phase. The location was actually perfect in terms of having a beautiful view. It was situated in Kamakuishi village, just at the foot of Mount Fuji. The theme park should be able to attract millions of tourists each year. However, it was also very near the so-called suicide forest. Being near Akigahara, where the most number of suicides happen, it was scary to imagine a fun theme park near it. If that was not unlucky enough, the Kamakuishi village is also known to be the location of the headquarters of Aum Shinrikyo Doomsday Cult, founded by Shoko Asahara in 1984. Their nerve gas production facility is also in that area. This group was responsible for the sarin gas attacks on the Tokyo subway in 1995. Visitors and residents were constantly reminded of this tragedy and still feel the trauma even if they are in a place where you should supposedly have fun. Number 8. The Mirney Diamond Mine. Every small town has its big secrets. The town of Mirney was unremarkable till they found a giant hole in the middle of the town, about 1,722 feet deep, that apparently produced enough diamonds to last for a millennium. However, its most interesting feature wasn't the diamonds, but the fact that it could suck anything that flew over it. As of now, the mine has been shut down due to the various accidents that took place in the past as well as in recent times. However, for now, the vortex of the Mirney Diamond Mine still remains a mystery, a seemingly bottomless pit with the power to suck in anything, once known to produce more than half of the world's diamonds. Number 7. The Red Sands Sea Forts. The Red Sands Forts are a series of 7 towers built during the Second World War as anti-aircraft defenses to protect the city of London from aerial bombardment. During the Second World War, 3 anti-aircraft forts were built in 1941-42 to protect the Thames estuary, designed by Mr. Gia Monsell. 4 other larger structures were built for the Navy, 7 towers linked together by walkways. 6 of the towers were armed, the 7th held the searchlights, and they were manned by a complement of 120. They were built in 1942 at Shivering Sands, Red Sands, and Great Nor. Each 300-ton tower was pre-constructed before being towed out to sea, sunk into position, and then connected to the next tower. After the war, the forts were abandoned, and Great Nor was demolished in 1958. Red Sand Fort, which is off the coast at Whitstable, was used in the 1960s as a pirate radio station. Number 6. Shicheng Underwater City. There is a mysterious ancient underwater city located in Chunnan County, Zhejiang, China, that is easily comparable to the lost city of Atlantis. Situated at the foot of the Wuxi Mountain, or Five Lion Mountain beneath a man-made lake. The difference from other sunken cities is that it was intentionally flooded with water in 1959 and was completely forgotten for 53 years. The man-made lake was called Qingdao Lake, or Thousand Island Lake, and the hydroelectric station was called Xinan Dam. Around 300,000 people were relocated and evacuated for this project. The stone architecture is believed to have originated in the Ming and Qing dynasties. Despite its old age, the underwater city maintained the glory of its structure, including walls, statues, arches, and wooden details. It hasn't eroded that much, although there are portions taken over by sea life. Archaeologists are baffled and amazed at how much they can discover from the well-preserved sunken ruins. There are a lot of traditional Chinese statues that are submerged but still in perfect shape. Number 5. The Sanzhi UFO Houses. These colorful flying saucer-style buildings, located in the Sanzhi district of New Taipei City in Taiwan, were built in 1978, but were forsaken before anyone ever stayed in them. They were originally targeted towards U.S. military officers, but investment losses and deaths due to accidents during construction caused the project to be abandoned in 1980. The misfortune of the UFO houses is said to have been caused by the unfortunate act of bisecting the Chinese dragon sculpture located near the resort gates for widening the road to the buildings, cursing the project. For almost 30 years, these strange pod-like structures were left to crack, crumble, and decay due to acts of nature and vandalism. Smashed, broken buildings and debris were all that remained of Pod City. It's sad that such unique architecture and design was never enjoyed by any residents. Unfortunately, this favorite of urban explorers and travelers no longer exists. The UFO houses were demolished in 2008. A petition to try and save at least one of the buildings failed. Apparently, a new beach resort and water park are being developed in its place. Number 4. The power plant IM. In a small neighborhood known as Monceau-sur-Sambre, within the Belgian town of Charleroi, sits an abandoned power station. The magnificent abandoned cooling tower, which still looms over the town, is no longer creating electricity, but providing plenty of dystopian vistas. Power Plant IM was originally built in 1921, and when it was finished, it was one of the largest coal-burning power plants in Belgium. By 1977, the power plant and its massive tower was the main source of energy in the Charleroi area. After years of service, a report found that Power Plant IM was responsible for 10% of the total CO2 emissions in Belgium. Protests from Greenpeace in 2006 gave the power plant a lot of negative attention, and it closed in 2007. After it was closed down, there were reports of looting by metal scrappers, but today there are often security guards. The power plant still lies abandoned and is said to be scheduled for demolition, but until that time it continues to stand as a popular location for urban explorers. Number 3. The Willard Asylum. Though asylums often carry connotations of dark and torturous existences, Willard and other institutions were intended to be a better alternative systems in place for taking care of the mentally ill. The land had originally been designated for agricultural purposes, so the hospital ran its own farm with crops grown and tended by patients. Patients were unconfined and able to walk about as they pleased, but unable to leave the premises. There was a bowling alley, a movie theater, and a gymnasium, and patients took part in camp-like activities like sewing classes. It was still a hospital though, and there were entire buildings devoted to treatments, like electroshock therapy and ice baths, as well as operating theaters and a morgue. A cemetery on the grounds features markers with numbers and no names for the thousands buried there. Number 2. The Orpheum Auditorium. The history of the theater is a unique one. Its opening day in 1912 was shared with the sinking of the Titanic, so it started off on a weird note that the years to follow were lucrative for New Bedford. With a bustling economy in the city, a theater was a sought-out destination in the South End. Curiosity about this historic place led to some fascinating discoveries. Expected the venue to be a grand theater, but didn't expect to hear about shooting tournaments. The French Sharpshooters Club of New Bedford constructed the building to serve as its headquarters, and it focused on competitive shooting, military-style drill teams, and marching bands. The theater continued to operate sporadically throughout the 1950s, but closed in 1962 when the French Sharpshooters Club sold the entire building. New Bedford's Orpheum Theater has been vacant for decades, but artifacts remain in place as an ode to its rich history. Number 1. Christ of the Abyss. Located more than 15 meters deep under the sea, the bronze statue was placed on the seabed on the 22nd of August, 1954, at the initiative of legendary Italian diver Duilio Marconte, who wanted to place a statue of Jesus following the death of his friend Dario Gonzatti, which occurred during a dive a few years earlier. The statue was created by sculptor Guido Galletti, and its arms are raised upwards as a sign of invocation. Following the death of Marconte, was placed a plaque on the base of the statue in his memory. It has been recently restored to preserve it from corrosion and fooling, and to reattach the hand that had been detached by an anchor. The Christ of the Abyss has become a tourist destination for scuba divers around the world. And if you choose to submerge into the sea, in this spot you will not only find the statue you are looking for, but also the remains of a British ship that sank not far from that spot during the Crimean War.